The whole reason why we're here, Filecoin is the one sponsoring this event. The whole reason why Dante, we're all here excited about Filecoin and IPFS is IPFS is basically a whole new internet. Okay, we have HTTP, HTTPS. That's what most of our internet runs on today. It was built a while ago, and so there's a lot of technical problems with it. So let's move on to something new. The interplanetary file system is what we have. So when people go around, like if you're here at Consensus, there's a lot of Web3 people. Well, what does Web3 even mean? Most of the people that say they're Web3, they're hosting all of their stuff on Web2 stuff. Yeah. So what's Web3 about any of this? Like any project that you guys know about, chances are probably it's like the least Web3 you can get. So what I heard from somebody, I was talking to an employee here at an event here, an employee from IPFS, and I was saying something like, I was like, oh, well, that isn't even Web3. And they looked at me and they were like, Logan, they were like, there's no such thing as like Web3. They were like, is it open or not? You know, is it, because like, even if it is Web3, it's all Web2. So just to, what he mentioned, you know, let's get on to, are we past Web3 already? It's like, I don't know what we're past. It's just, we're moving on to a new internet, and it's just, I call it, is it the open web? And so I have a project called Open Links. I stole that from another project, OpenSCAD, which is if you do like graphic design, if you do 3D printing, there's a whole program that's open free, that's open source, it's called OpenSCAD. I think OpenVPN is another one. There's so many things that we use that, so yeah, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people in Web3, they have never heard this talk, they've never heard this conversation of, oh, you know, there's no such thing as Web3. There's this new company, what is it? It's like they created Web5 or something, or the name of the company Web6 or something. I don't know. So let me try to get my things across. So yeah, what we're going to do today is we're going to put a website on the interplanetary file system, which is actually like a lot more difficult than you would think. We have a new version of the internet, and so there's a lot of ways to do. I did it earlier and it worked. Yeah. So yeah, who in here has actually used IPFS at all? No. Did you raise your hand? No, sir? Please I don't use IPFS. That's how I got my large language models. Gotta love it. Okay. Sorry to interrupt, guys. Sorry that took so long. Okay, so web pages are something we've been using for a long time. Who in here has a web page of their own? Who makes web pages at all? All right, we've got some web page builders. Okay, lots of web page builders. Okay, so there's a few different types of web pages. So I don't want to get into like the deep. I don't want to get into like the specifics too much, but with IPFS, everything that we knew about how to save a website is changed. Okay, so before, when you build a website, you have this cool index.html. That's essentially what you're seeing here. It's just a bunch of directions, I think. And so this index.html, this is obviously HTML. So vanilla, there's no JavaScript in this, there's nothing dynamic in this yet. Whenever I started putting websites on IPFS, you really like are used to a certain way of doing things. When you start doing it on IPFS, everything's you don't get dynamic anything. So all my websites would have JavaScript. If you build websites, putting JavaScript in your website, putting a script in there to say, hey, Java, do this, pretty common. It doesn't work on IPFS. And so if you're going to do anything dynamic, it needs to be rendered statically. So what that means is, the only reason why I'm telling you this is if you're going to go to IPFS, which I want you to go do, and go put your website on IPFS. The only problem is it's not the easiest, because if you have any JavaScript in it, okay, you're going to have to rewrite the app to where it's ran statically, okay? Just like this HTML page that I have right here is a static page. There's nothing dynamic about it. Right now, you see there's 11 different memes on this, okay? So this is a page that all I want to do is I make a bunch of memes, I post them on Twitter, and the memes are just about like tech or something. Here's one. And all I want to do, bad internet I guess. So all I want to do is I just want a place to just collate all my memes, okay? So there's nothing, the thing is, there's nothing dynamic about this. I have to go and change the code every time I want a new meme in here. And so the way you do that is just with React. I would do it with JavaScript, but you can't because IPFS doesn't allow that. And so I just want everybody to know, if you're going to build a web page on IPFS, a big thing that they don't tell you, or it's not obvious to everybody in the documents, is it has to be static. Okay, so that means it's either HTML or you do a build in React. Pretty simple. I don't know why that's just not plain as day. Did you know that?
No.
Okay, did you know that?
But like, why though?
Yeah, why? That doesn't make sense. Because JavaScript runs in your browser. So.
It's a file system.
Yeah.
It's not a database. It's not.
Right. There's nothing dynamic about it. So it's a means of getting a file from A to B.
Yeah.
And the problem with running JavaScript, and this might answer your question. The problem with running JavaScript in it is your browser doesn't want to trust it. Okay, it sees something coming in from IPFS, and it's like, oh, I don't want it. So the reason why it has to be static is so that way your browser, whenever you're loading it, it can actually trust it, and it's not actually going to be like. So yeah, that's the.
Sounds like a browser problem, honestly. You know.
Okay, go talk to the browsers. go talk to Chrome and tell them that. And you know what they say? They go, they're like, whatever. Have a good day. They're like, we'll deal with that when it's actually a problem. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So there are some browsers. Brave for one.
Oh, Brave.
They're awesome. There's a few more. Opera, I think Opera does it maybe. But yeah, Chrome. The thing is 99% of users use Chrome. So what are you gonna do? You know. So that's the problem. So if you're gonna build anything that like I want my mom to be able to see, I want my grandma to be able to go to it, right? They don't know. They're not gonna authenticate cores. You know. So yeah. So okay. There's a little background. So the thing about IPFS.
Hold on. So you can't serve static JavaScript that is stored on IPFS to be run in the browser.
You can. It's just you're gonna have to deal with the difficulty of getting your browser to trust it enough to be able to actually run it. Okay, because your browser doesn't like to just run scripts that it doesn't know where it's coming from.
Can't you use source or
Trust
integrity?
me. You could set up SSL scripts. You could set up APIs. The thing is, for every user, it's going to be different. Every browser is going to be, like.
That's why WebAssembly is probably the best way to do it.
Well, WebAssembly is no different from JavaScript.
I mean, yeah. Well.
The thing is, there's ways you can trust WebAssembly maybe more. Okay.
It's compiled. It's pre-compiled, so the browser doesn't have to
do
anything to run it.
I don't want to interrupt the talk, but I guess I wonder like how they even DNS work. You know, like how does it find the resolve the web page, or maybe that's what it's about, right?
Right. So with IPFS, it's a good like transition. Do we have any more questions? Because that like perfectly transitions.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask next.
Right.
Yes.
So the whole thing about IPFS, the whole thing, like when I normally have a web page that I built, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Amazon and I'm going to say, hey, can I put this in your bucket? Okay. So I put my file in their bucket. So then whenever a user wants to go to my web page, they go to the bucket. Okay? So the big thing about IPFS is you're not going to the bucket anymore. You're going to the source, you're going to the content identifier. So you're getting away from saving everything on the internet is location addressed. It's addressed by a place. Okay, the thing about IPFS is you're addressing by the content. Okay, so it's everything's changed, everything's different now when you address it by the content. Because the whole reason the whole reason why you can do that is because every time you say I want a picture of a cat, you know you're going to get a picture of a cat because you're asking for the content itself. You're not asking for, hey, give me the house with cat in it. Okay, that's what people normally do on Web 2, if you want to call it that. They say, give me right. So it's like that's insecure, you know. If you're still gonna trust what's inside that place, you know, and so yeah, that's what's exciting. That's why our web pages have to be different. That's why, and it's like the whole reason is like, why would I want to go and have to do this? What's the whole reason why like my web page works perfectly fine? The question is, does it? Okay. Because the second any government says, I don't want somebody to get to that bucket, they can just flip a switch and that whole web page is down. So in, I don't know, 3 years ago in Spain, whenever Barcelona, or I don't know if it was 3 years ago, it was a while ago, when Barcelona wanted to secede from Spain, Spain was like, oh no, turn off their internet. And their internet was off. And so what did everybody in Spain do? What did everybody in Barcelona do? They switched to IPFS. You couldn't, and then the government couldn't do anything. They can't do anything about it. So, so that is the open internet.
And that's how they managed to succeed.
Exactly, right? Because they didn't. Right.
España sobrevivió todo.
Right. That same example follows in China too. China will lock down a lot of content, and so yeah, in Ukraine it's pretty cool too, because like if you film something, like Russia is the #1 for faking tons of shit. So the content being able to have like the content identification of the videos that are recorded in Ukraine. That's what company is doing that? Starling Labs is doing that. They're authenticating videos with IPFS. Super cool. So yeah. We have why you want to do, the whole reason why you want to put your websites and all of this crap on IPFS is when somebody gets mad, it's not going to go down. I have a cool app. It's really dope. It's called openlinks.io. You go to it. It's a link tree. So everybody knows what a link tree is. You put your links in it. Cool. Linktree raised a bunch of money like last year. They're going to raise a lot of money. Okay, so they've got bills to pay. They've got employees. They probably have more employees than Walmart does. So someday in the near future, they're probably going to jack up the prices or something. Something's going to change to where they're not going to have to where your Linktree page could be in jeopardy. You don't get access to your Linktree page unless you pay $5 a month. For a little web page, okay? That's pretty dumb. So, cool thing about my app is all the pages, if you go and you sign up and you create a page, okay, it's SSO, so it's like, it should be very easy to, But, so yeah, the cool thing is if my app goes down, if I don't pay my AWS bill, everybody's Linktree pages are still up. They're still on IPFS. So like, it doesn't, so the reliance isn't even on the developers anymore. So that's exciting. That's one of the reasons why I used IPFS is because if I just disappear, my project is still moving and it's not insecure. So 10 out of 10. So yeah, that's the why. Let's actually start just let's actually do this. And so we have an HTML page here. I wrote this a few days ago, very like super simple. Yeah. So yeah, so super easy. Okay, we got index.html. Okay, we've got my font here. This is some CSS for styling. Okay, and then we have so here this is. Oh, I guess this is my wrong index. Here we have. This is all addressed by a spot, by a place. Okay, so this is what your web page would look like if it's just hosted on Amazon. Okay, if I threw this on an S3 bucket, I would have the same addressing. I would have a folder inside of my big folder, and it's like that's where I keep all my photos, and you just call each photo in the folder. So this is what a general HTML website on the normal web looks like, and I'll show you. This is what one looks like on. This is what one looks like on IPFS. Sorry. Simple. So this is the addressing for when it's on IPFS. So as you can see, I'm not addressing by a folder anymore, I'm addressing with a location. And the location being this massive, this is called a BAFI, or this is a new version of a content identifier right here. So this big BAFI is how you call an IPFS object. So this is, that whole string right there illustrates an image. Pretty simple.
Question: can you use that IPNS with those long strings? You can get them to be a short pointer.
Oh yeah, yeah. For open links, right? If you're building a Linktree page, every time you would make a new page, every time like one of my users would make a new page,
You have to make a new IPNS entry.
well, IPFS is content identified, right? So if the content changes, the identifier to get to it changes too. So you have to use, so like all of our users were like, every time I make a new page, I get a new link. They're like, how do I, is there a way that I could maybe not get a new link every time? And so we had to put IPNS in it, interplanetary naming system.
Okay.
So yeah, so this is the BAFI, and then you have, this is obviously a location. Okay, so I'm giving this to a sort of Amazon to kind of take care of and hold, and so I'll show you, because like, IPFS is the interplanetary file system, right? It's meant to where my computer is running IPFS, and to where if somebody, the whole like core of IPFS is if I have a video, I'm a professor right now, and I say I want everybody to go and watch this YouTube video by yourself. Okay, just take the next 5 minutes, go watch this YouTube video. Everybody's gonna go and they're gonna get onto YouTube themselves, and everybody is gonna go request that video. HTTPS means that everybody, all of you will download it yourself. The whole point of IPFS is when I tell you to go do that, the first person to go grab the video, the first person that's just the quickest, they grab the video, and then everybody else, IPFS will route it to that phone. Just because that's where it should be. And why are we doing all this hippity hoppity and wasting? So just in one class, 100 gigabytes can just be gone. Just because one professor was like, yeah, go spend 5 minutes, watch this video. It's like, we don't have to waste that data anymore. And so the thing is if I have a website and I put it on this laptop, and like thousands of people around the world are trying to request data from this laptop, it's not going to be very fast. Okay, because whatever my internet is, that's the bottleneck. And so, so a lot of the reason why I'm saying like we're in the open internet and like it's not Web 2, Web 3 is because even if I have a web page on IPFS, I still need to put it in a place that is you can get to it. Okay, so that still means I'm putting it on on something that looks a lot like Amazon or etc. And so what we use, what we figured out this year was this cool company called Web Storage. It's built by Protocol Labs, who builds IPFS, and so they were of course the smart ones to figure this out. And so it's just like Amazon. Okay, you go to AWS and then you say log in, and then boom, with internet, you know, it'll log in. And then what you do is I have my little photos here. I have like this photo of this cat. So you can just easily upload the file, drop it here. Cool. So as you see, complete. So that's a PNG or a JPEG image. Okay, for as far as IPFS goes, if you've ever worked with IPFS over the past couple of years, I dropped that thing in there and it's complete already. Okay, that doesn't always, like, if you've worked with IPFS, Dante, you know, it's not always that fast. And so to be able to have tools and stuff to let us to make this easier to use, thank you, Web3.storage. Does anybody, Frank works with IPFS, a lot of people here do, I guess. If any of you have any ideas on where to put IPFS data that's contactable, I'm all ears. Everybody in the room should know too. So yeah, like,
I mean, you could spin up any cloud server and put it there. You could run your own.
right. So what he's saying is you could
Closet server.
what'd you say?
My closet server, my
Yeah.
little home lab.
Totally. Yeah.
What's your data length? How fast is your internet speed?
It's a 2 gigabit.
You've got 2 gigs
Yeah.
in your closet?
Yes.
You've got 2 gig in your closet?
It's a fiber connection.
That's pretty.
It's a fiber closet.
Even if it is a fiber connection, 2 gig is a quick one. All right, I'm just saying.
I mean, probably
5
1 point something. Or
You can get 5 gig. You can get 5 gig.
You can get 5 gig in Austin if you have AT&T fiber.
Yeah.
I have AT&T fiber.
Yeah,
And you know how much money they're gonna you know how much money they're gonna charge you?
180 a month.
180?
That's really good.
Yeah, pretty good. For 2 gig from Google is like 100.
Well, the 2 gig you get from Google is only the downlink. They still restrict you to 1 gig
One
up.
up.
But
Ah,
for
that's the shit-
AT&T,
that's the
5
shit that
gig
they don't
is
tell you.
symmetric fiber.
Yeah.
Darn. What?
All right. So yeah. So you could almost put it in your closet and you'd be fine. But most people don't have 2 gig coming in. Okay. And so yeah. So what Dante's saying is you could go to Amazon, you could go to anybody and say you could get a server from them and then get IPFS running on that and then send your files to that server, right? Which, okay, I'm a cloud dev. Okay, I got customers, I got shit broken, right? So you're right, 100%. Is what you're talking about more efficient and cost effective? Yes. Is it as easy? No. Right. So yeah, it's good that everybody knows all the options.
What about like Pinata? Is that similar kind of thing?
Perfect. That's a good idea. Yeah, I didn't mention Pinata. You could probably do the same. Their storage prices have gotten a little hectic. they've got like 12 tiers. They've got tons of stuff going on. So
it's like, man, it's almost like for us, we want them to keep raising prices.
yeah. To be honest, no. Like Pinata's prices are high. Okay, so that is like. There's a service that they're providing. If you make NFTs and like you're using Pinata to host, and that's like Pinata works for you, and you want to pay it, then 10 out of 10 use them. But it's also, hey, if you know cloud servers and you know how to set up a network like that, then set up one exactly like Pinata. Like a lot of their stuff is open source too. So yeah, that's the cool part. Is a lot of these entities are very expensive, and so there is a lot of low-hanging fruit that you can just go and. There's like I've been told there's also strawberries. Okay, so it's not even fruit that you have to. It's on the ground. So yeah. So we have Pinata's a really good one. Lighthouse.storage is a good one. But there's a few service providers that will do it. Convergence. Go talk to Dante. You know, like you said. So yeah, I got my cat, I got my stable cat on here going into IPFS. Wow, okay, this is a pretty big deal. We have, Dante, you see this? So here we have storage deals that were completed, which is good, because they haven't been getting completed for a while. So that's actually really good, for everybody who's like, thinks that's funny. Pretty cool. So yeah.
But then if it's on Filecoin, what's the Filecoin series?
So if it's on Filecoin, they'd probably map it to the same, using the map it to.
Basically mapped, yeah. It's stored in a car. It's a content archive file.
Yeah, car file. You love car files. You use those all the time. Yeah. It is suspicious, you know? It is, and I agree. You should go get into it.
So, are you paying for storage?
So, am I paying for storage? With like, in what context?
Like I think earlier you said you have to worry about some developer paying or some company paying their AWS bill so that your data
Right.
can be
Okay. So are you paying Logan? So you're using Web3.storage. Are you paying for them too? The answer is yes. 100%. Web3.storage has a few different tiers, and since Web3.storage is built by Protocol Labs themselves, the people who built IPFS, they have ingrained a base tier that is basically free. Like, if you could be storing, I think, up to at least 5 gigs, which if you have a website that's over 5 gigabytes, that's a hefty website, and you should be paying. But if you have anything less than 5 gigs, is free. And that's just because I think it's from Protocol Labs. But I pay for my storage just because if you're a paying customer, you get faster latency to request. And so people who are going to your objects will get faster. But yes,
It's like $8 a month, right?
I think for the best one you can get is $8 a month, which
It's like 100 gig.
What's kind of cool though is you could be paying for another one too, and because it's the same protocol, it
That's
gets rid of some of the counterparty risk.
Yeah, you should talk about that too, like you can have.
oh, yeah, sorry to actually answer your question, okay, to get away from, oh, well, you're using a service provider anyway, they could go belly up too. The cool thing about IPFS is you're addressing by the content, right? So I can ask for the content multiple places. I can say ask Web3.storage, I can say ask Lighthouse.storage, and so you can be storage provider agnostic to where you can just load up tons of storage providers on top of each other.
So kind of like a magnet link in some ways. It's like
Exactly like a magnet, but
Exactly.
but-
It's a magnet link that every time you add to it, it adds it automatically. So you have that one piece of content, you can put it on Pinata, you can put it on Web3.storage, you can
What's
put
the
it on
magnet?
Fleet. And then so all it does is just makes it faster.
And it doesn't replicate the data. It's deduplication.
Yeah,
So
it just goes across like whichever one hits it faster. So
Mhm.
that's like the beauty
it's
of it.
really efficient.
You have to like just depend on one, like if AWS goes down in one region, you're kind of stuck. Whereas if you do this on multiple different ways, you can do multiple pinning, then all those are ready to go to serve your content.
Alright, so let's say I wanted to host my chunk files that, are in my closet server, and they're really big. I don't wanna pay the storage fees, cause I already have the equipment. I could put, if I would be able to get this IPFS address. Most people would be hitting my server if they wanted to read the files, but I'm guessing that at some point it would be syndicated out to other servers that have, downloaded it.
exactly. If they're hosting an IPFS server and they request the data,
Okay.
and the data is following, thing is if a normal IPFS node is only gonna be holding like 100 megs of data by stock, right? So if your drop file is bigger than that, then you're gonna have maybe some interest junk. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, talking about like server.
So yeah, if you got, I mean, if you got ISOs or something, and ISO is gonna be 6 gigs, and so you're gonna, that's another big thing too, is we've got low hanging fruit here, or strawberries, right? So if there's a way that you can figure out how to host that 6 gig payload, put it on GitHub and show people, because they wanna know, 6 gig, you know, that might be something you're looking at too. Yeah, you more, yeah. So, yeah. That's it.
Break it up into 100 megabyte chunks and then be like, hey, here's a pointer to the other
You can do chunks.
IPFS thing.
Chunking is a big
I don't
thing.
know.
That's what he does. If you want to talk about chunking, you come talk to him. But
Right.
to answer your question, magnet links are it's a way that an onion link can get, or actually it's a torrent. It's a torrent link. And so magnet links are cooler than just standard torrent links because you can load a lot more peers in them. Correct. I'm not an expert on
also
torrenting.
using it will also see that you're trying to use it, and they'll be like, I've got that file, and then they'll be like swarming or something like that, basically.
That's exactly what it does. Yeah, that's done on the DHT, I believe.
Distributed hash table, something like that. Something like that.
It's the same where we are. Yeah, we use the DHT to keep track of what people have.
So, earlier you mentioned like if, you know, that you gave the example of like downloading a video that if you had a classroom of people that were downloading a video. So how does that actually work? Cause like, you know, if my phone like is set so like, I don't wanna, you know, accept connections from like other people that are around me. Well, you know, how does that actually work?
Right. If you're going to do that, you better do it very carefully, right? And you better have a protocol. So on the protocol level, I'm not too, to be honest, I don't know off the top of my head where. So essentially, like, you're going to ask DNS. You're going to ask a domain name service in your campus. Yeah, okay. So if you're on a campus somewhere, if you're at a college here at UT, and your professor does this, okay, your campus, your whatever classroom you're in, is going to have, my question is, are you on 3G or are you on Wi-Fi?
Yeah, Wi-Fi. Yes.
You're on Wi-Fi, good, thank God. Okay, because that means my scenario works. So if you're on Wi-Fi, it means you're connected to a DNS server on the campus. They're going to have their own DNS server, and it's going to be a nice one, because that's what campuses do. And so your phone is going to go to that, and it's going to say, hey, I'm looking for this video. And the DNS is going to say, hey, Frank just pulled it. So just go to, I'll route you straight to Frank's phone. And you'll legitimately go talk to the protocol on his phone.
And Apple will, like, the Safari browser from Apple will allow that?
Yep. Inshallah, God willing, inshallah. knock on wood.
I actually hosted a video on my phone. And it was like, it hit the
See, you're lucky. We've been talking about video on IPFS ever since IPFS was like thought of. Okay, that example was the example that was given, right? So we're in good hands here because Frank here is one of the very few people who actually work with video on IPFS. And so, if you have any questions about video, and if you can go help this mother. Go help him because it's insane to be able to do what I just described. To be able to do that right is like that's the next gen. That's why am I wasting 100 gigs? Think about how many people in your building has seen the same YouTube video that you watch. It's probably a lot. So let's figure out. So yes,
it does raise the point that you ideally trust whoever you're requesting a file from, before you.
If you're using IPFS,
before you go
right?
requesting a file,
Right.
like you should probably trust the person, right? Because
luckily with IPFS you don't even need to, right? Like you don't. You can escape this.
No, I mean like he was mentioning like what if there's malicious.
Right. Right.
So you can verify the hash once it's fully downloaded, but if it's streaming, then you can't.
You can even do you can validate the hash before. So you can actually, if you run a checksum or something on the hash, just on the name, you can form the data.
The stream uses the hash, but the stream will return bytes before it
You like to start streaming a block or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
So,
can- there's actually a lot of work to be done
two
on
different
like,
processes.
right. There's a lot of work on being able to like he was saying, streaming in different chunks.
Right.
So like, how do I trust start, like, when do I start trusting these chunks, and like, how do I, there's a lot of work to still be done on that, just like there's,
It's more of a user interface issue, I think.
right, yeah. Hence why if you're working in IPFS, your legitimacy, like if you're starting to do business, it's like really important to have like a good foundation and to be like, okay, this is where I'm going with this. Like, I'm not just gonna like send IPFS data without it being secure, because that would kind of defeat the purpose. And so, yeah, cool. So, cool. Any questions on anything? Anybody got any questions?
So in the instance where somebody doesn't want you to post or host anything, like, because it's on IPFS,
Awesome.
there seems to be an active example, right? Like, Meta's leaked Llama large language model has been put on IPFS. And some of the problems that people are having is that they are messing with weights or something like that.
Messing with weights.
I don't know if anyone knows any more about that, if you've heard about this, but.
So yeah, so there's an AI model that Meta came up with,
Right.
and
so
they're hosting it on IPFS.
Yes.
Oh, of course you would, because why are you trying to keep this is America. We're allowed to have our AI. Why are you taking my AI away from me? The fact that Meta is trying to hide that in the first place is funny. You know, that's interesting.
They want to restrict it to specifically researchers.
Yeah. Okay. So if you have content on IPFS, you have illegal content, because there's a lot of content on the internet that shouldn't be there. Okay.
Yeah.
Legitimately, like, there's some stuff that shouldn't be on the internet. So how do you keep track of that? Luckily we have this cool service called Bad Bits, and so if there's so luckily, like, if you're using HTTP and you're hosting something illegal, what happens?
You get IP address and stuff,
IP address, right? So a government says, hey, you're not supposed to have that, and so they go after the internet service provider, which is AT&T, and AT&T will shut you down, right? Right. So the same thing happens on IPFS. It's the protocol in which moves the files around isn't the issue. It's the person who's on the end. And so so what controls content, like prohibited content on the internet today? Well, there's nothing really. It's kind of just governments will get a DMCA. HBO is like, my movie is on this torrent, so like they gotta stop hosting this because they're stealing my movie. And so then the government goes and does. So it's this big, like, if you've ever got a DMCA takedown, if you've ever been downloading stuff and you've gotten your internet service provider, involved, it's a big shit show. It's been a shit show. And so with IPFS, it was really a big, especially like in the beginning, it was a big, like, nobody knew what was going on, because like we had 10 years in normal Web 2 to figure out this shit show, and then with IPFS, it's like a whole new one. And so, luckily, now we have this thing called Bad Bits, which there's a lot of gateways that are publicly ran by IPFS. They run it as a service good for the public, okay? So the gateway that is calling my object, that gateway is, it's using the Web3 storage gateway, which IPFS stands up themselves. And so you can't host, if they're hosting illegal content, that's not good. And so they have this cool system called Bad Bits, to where if there's an image that is prohibited, it gets added to this list through IPFS's legal team. And so all of the requests just go through their legal team. They'll do an investigation, and then whatever content is removed. And so so if you're building anything on IPFS, and if you have, like, it's very stressful to say, hey, I have a place where you can send data to, and I will host it for you. Okay, if you call this data, I will send it to you. To do that is hyper stressful. I don't know if anybody has ever done that. I'm getting into that, so if you want to talk about it, I'd love to. The thing is if you're trusting people with the data that they have, there's a lot of bad stuff that can happen with that. There's a lot of things that need to be going on to make sure data is what it should be. And so, if you're building one of those systems, use bad bits. Because if somebody puts something into your system and it's prohibited, it's already going to be flagged in their system, and so you can just take advantage of this cool thing.
How's that, you're giving the example of Spain and what, Catalan or some, Catalonia?
Encrypted, bro. That's what I'm thinking.
So yeah, okay, think about it. There's a huge difference. There's a very big difference between a human problem of like, okay, this country wants to secede, and this content is illegal. Like, this content is prohibited, okay?
Yeah, but the government can say this is illegal.
But it's not the government who's doing that. Who keeps track of the bad bits list is the legal team at IPFS.
Well, and whoever is hosting the hardware, the infrastructure, right? I could say, I'm hosting this infrastructure to host legitimate content, not to host, illegal content. So if I find that, I don't have to replicate your data. I don't have to peer with your peers. And so you're just, maybe you'll find some peers that will connect with you. But if I'm, putting the money up for that infrastructure, I can set the rules.
Or if you really believe that content should be up, like you were saying, like China or something like that blocks it, you can have your own gateway.
Yeah,
Like you don't know, that's the thing, it's like, it's trustless. Like if the IPFS legal team thinks that like Wikipedia was not legal or something, right? Technically, it's illegal in a lot of places. You just have your own gateway. You also like, even if it's banned bits or whatever, so it's because the content is like, is addressable, that's the thing that makes it like really magical. It's like, it's backwards from how most of Web 2 stuff works.
So yeah, yeah.
Good?
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, that's how you put a. That's how you put a web page on IPFS. You have an HTML page. It can't be dynamic. It has to be React. So if you're using React, you have to do an npm React build, and then you have your build folder, and then you send your build folder to webpage.storage. And
Really messing around like DNS stuff. Like, how do you like the DNS linking? I've tried to use it before, but it doesn't like.
so if we're gonna have a conversation on IPFS, we should like legitimately do like a group workshop on IPFS to where like
it's actually like I'm a smart person. I can't figure this out.
It's
I'm a dumb person and I can't figure it out. So